Today I'd like to talk a little bit about some words that I absolutely hate. And I don't know whether they're just little quirks that people might have or whether it's just part of the language, but I know there's always a few words that become trendy after a while, and they become the buzzwords, and sometimes they last for a while and go away, thankfully, but other times they don't. One term that's used now that I just absolutely can't stand is when we talk about brand, or the news and reporters and things talk about brand in terms of personalities and people like the Kardashians. I'm sorry, I understand that the notion of a brand is what, a corporation will do when they sell a product generally to market themselves as being special, and I can see that with designers and things like that. Fine, that's that's a contemporary normal way to think about it. But now there's this whole like who moved my cheese kind of pop business sense notion that like we have to call everything brand. So all of a sudden we're talking about Kim Kardashian's brand. I mean, what is her brand? Basically to just be famous for its own sake and live her life and be on TV. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's not really a brand. During the election in 2008, they were talking about Hillary Clinton's brand and the Clinton brand in general. And then with the whole thing with Sarah Palin, they would talk about the Palin brand and her fancy clothes and the eyeglasses without the frames, and the whole thing was just completely ridiculous, and you never hear the end of it. Another expression that's used is when people will say quite or rather in circumstances where you just should not be using it. It happens a lot. And I think sometimes people do it to try and sound smarter than what they are. And it just comes across as being completely pretentious and useless. Now, if you use it in a sense of, I would rather do this than that, that's fine. But when people say things like, it's rather warm today. Well, why don't you just say it's warm today? Or, that looks quite good on you. Well, why don't you just say that looks good on you? I mean, what do you think? You're like, Miss Marple or something? I mean, if you would rather be on the BBC network, that's fine. But if you're just a standard English-speaking American person, please just stick to, what the minimum amount of words that need to be used to convey the point. I think strunk and white, if we applied it to language, would just throw up all over themselves if they heard people using quite and rather the way that they do all the time. Another one that really bothers me is every time there's anything remotely close to being a scandal on the news, they always put gate at the end. Like like with Watergate, I can see because it was Watergate. But everything afterwards, all of a sudden has to have gate after. So there's like, zipper gate and this gate and that gate, and it's like, give me a break. I mean, it's trying to attach a level of conspiracy and corruption that was equivalent of like what Watergate was to whatever this new item they're referencing is, and they're trying to make the implication that the one is like the other, and half the time these controversies that are going on are nothing, and it's them trying to sensationalize the story. But even if it is something, it has nothing to do with Watergate, so just chill out and don't use gate afterwards, because it's just incredibly ridiculous and very annoying. There's other words that bother me too. I don't like it when police officers, instead of saying car or truck or whatever, just to sound smarter, they'll say vehicle. Please, sir, exit your vehicle. Or blah, 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 the vehicle. It's like, come on, just be, it's like you don't need to use more formal language than you need to like puff up your authority. It's fine. Just say, if someone could say, please exit your car or truck or whatever, if you get stopped, that's fine. Another thing that you watch cops and they'll say things like, this particular individual this and that particular individual that, and it's like, again, particular isn't serving anything because we know who you're referencing, so just use the word. Say this person did that or this person did the other thing. You don't need to put particular in front of it. You really don't. I think there's a lot of expressions that people use. I know when I speak, I'll say like, or I say like and quite a bit, and that can be annoying as well. People do these things so that they can have a pause while they're putting everything together while they're trying to speak. But if you really look at what they're doing and take notice of it, it can get annoying after a while. And I'm not trying to be difficult on people, but the sensationalizing kinds of words and terms and phrases and things that the media uses can be really, really annoying. And if there was a way, if I was ruler for a day, I would make them go away.